Everybody, my name is Paul, and a lot of interesting content here on my site. Hope you explore some of my other videos. I talk a lot about consciousness and ancient mythology, history, symbolism, and all kinds of interesting stuff. And this is one of my series about stories and little parables that I've heard over the years, some dreams involved. Sometimes they're funny, a little message involved, and so on. So, without any further ado, I'd like to tell you a few of these stories here. I got a short list here. The first one I want to tell you about is involving about devotion and so on and outward appearances. And this takes place in India, one of those kind of places anyway, mountains, and the student and his teacher are walking along. And the teacher says to the student, okay, today I'm going to show you some of my really, really devoted, beautiful devotees. And so they walked along and they came to this village, and there was had to make an appointment and go up this elevator, and there was a very, very busy merchant in there, and they had to sit and wait for him, and he came out finally and gave him a few minutes to say, sorry I kept you waiting here, but I'm kind of busy here, and blah, 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 and they had a little short conversation, and as they departed, the master said to us, I bless you and bless you that your business keeps increasing and increasing, and then they went on their way. So, of course, the students started thinking, man, what's wrong with this guy? Had to wait for him, and he was kind of rude, and he only could spare a few minutes. So they went on to the next village, and they came to another little town where there's a elderly woman and her husband. They're living there. They have a cow and a few chickens, maybe. And they're just kind of eking out a living there. Been there for a long time, but they just loved this guru and just always felt like such a warm welcome. They made him some tea and showed him around their little property and everything. And as they were leaving, the teacher said, "Oh, I'm so bless you so much that your cow, hope it dies." Now the students started really getting upset because he hear these people that are so loving, and he spent a lot of time with them and gave them food and adored them and everything, and then as he leaves, he tells them he hopes their cow died. So they were going on to another village and walking along, and finally this student, he just couldn't help himself any longer, and he just said, look, you got to tell me what's with this. You just told this guy to increase his business so many fold, and he's already got so much business already. He's wealthy, he can barely spare any time to meditate or anything. And what's with that? Then he said, there's other couple that are so devoted to you, and why did you just tell them the cow should die? So the teacher starts smiling. He starts saying, well, look, see, if my other devotee's business increases so much, it'll cause an inner thirst, and he'll just get tired of it, and he'll just want to go inside and practice meditation, and then he'll become centered and become a wise overseer of his money, and then he can be generous to all people, and all will be well. And the lady with the cow, they're elderly, they can barely take care of the cow. It takes so much work. They don't want to kill the cow. They're so compassionate. The cows have been our friend all their life. They don't want to kill it. So they just take care of it. It doesn't produce much anymore. And it's a burden to them. So I bless them that their cow would die. It's going to die anyway eventually. And now they have less responsibility. And all their neighbors and their friends can share with them some milk and cream from the cow. And they won't have to take care of it anymore. So finally the student understood, oh, well, see, it all works out for the best. Now, speaking of all works out for the best, that reminds me of a very funny story, actually, that I heard long ago. Let's see if I can tell it right. Apparently there's this old king, and he had a prime minister, you might say, an attendant, who had been with him since childhood. This fellow was older than him and had been his guide all his life, and always used to accompany him on all the different trips because he was very well versed with the kingdom and a good friend. And they always used to like to go out hunting and camping. This is the fun thing they used to do. So they would go out in the woods and they'd camp and everything and make a little fire and do their thing and hunt a little bit. And one day on one of these trips, the thing about this minister that always accompanied this king, this is the thing that got important detail. He always could say, everything is for the best. King, everything is just for the best. Don't worry, everything is for the best. And this used to annoy the king no end, because things would happen. The king would say, "What do you mean it's for the best?" So one day they were out there making their campsite and everything, and they're chopping wood, and the king's having this. He's being like a kid again with his old friend, an older guy. And one day he's chopping a little wood, and he cut off a little piece of his finger on one little end. And they go, "Oh my God!" The guy's just screaming. The king was jumping up and down. And this minister said, "Oh, it'll be okay. It's all for the best, all for the best, all for the best." So this really pissed off the king. He said, "Look, you've been my friend all my life, and now you just keep, this is not for the best. I just cut a little piece off my finger. I'm going to ban you from my kingdom and get the hell out of here. I don't want to talk to you for a long time." And then the minister said, "Well, that's all for the best, king. Everything will work out. It's all for the best." Of course, the king got even angry. He said, "Get out of here." So time went by, and the king used to go out, and he used to do his little hunting thing and camping thing by himself, and he really just dismissed this old guy. But that really pissed him off by always saying everything is for the best. So he was out there one day just doing his thing, and he got captured by some tribe. And they had a big feast going on, and they were kind of cannibals, and they wanted to offer someone to their god. So he took him back to their village, and they had a whole thing going on. They're going to burn him up and sacrifice him and so on. So they're getting all ready to do this, and their guy comes over to kind of inspect the subject, and he noticed he had a piece of missing on his finger. He said, "Oh my God, this is a very bad omen." He told the tribe leader, like, you can't offer this guy to the god. He's got a defect. The gods will like be angry at us. He's got a defect. What are we offering him? So they, better let him go. Now at this point, the king said, "Oh my God, now I know. If it hadn't been for my accident, and he told me so, it would work out all right, and it hadn't been for missing my finger, then I would be sacrificed as him." And he put out a notice to all his kingdom, "Please bring that guy back and tell him, come back here. I'll apologize to him." So the guy finally came back, the elderly fellow, and they all had a good laugh. And then the king says, "Well, how I know it was all right for me, because I was saved because just because of that happened. But what about you? I mean, I banished you from my kingdom for a long time, and how was that good for you?" And the guy says, "Well, see, I have all my fingers, and I would have been with you that day, and they would have killed me instead of you." So, a silly story about all's for the best, right? Now, there's one about the lady in the river. And the monk and his disciple are walking along, one of these stories, they come along to a river. And of course they have a vow of chastity and everything, and they're not supposed to touch women. So they come to the bank of this river, and this lady, she just can't get across. She's having a real hard time. So the chief monk, picks her up and walks her across the river and puts her down on the other side without saying a word. And continue on their journey. And this just totally blew the guy away. The students are like, this monk, he's not supposed to touch a woman. I just saw him pick up a woman. He carried her all the way across this river, and I put her down. So he kept thinking about this, and finally he just couldn't stop himself. And he told the teacher, like, "Hey, did you just pick up that woman back there and put her down? What's that? Didn't you violate your vows?" And the monk says, "Well, I put her down back there, but you've been carrying her all this way." So the idea that what's in your mind, let the past go. So a little parable about that. Now, there's a fun story about a lady and a man, humble little peasants. They're going from town to town in the villages and the mountains, you can imagine. And they have a donkey, and they're walking to the town, and the man says to his wife, "So, honey, we have this donkey, and I know you're a little weaker than me, and I'd like you to ride on a donkey, and I'll walk behind. We'll just go to the next town." So they're walking on the way, and along comes another person coming the other way. And he starts saying, "What's the matter with you? You know, you're the man. You know, you're the chief. Your wife is supposed to be superior to you. How come you're not riding a donkey and have her walk behind?" So after a little argument, the guy says, "Oh, well, whatever, okay, you know, if you insist, okay, honey, I'll get on the donkey and then you walk behind." So they're walking like that for a little while. And they come to another guy, he's walking the other way, and he says, "Hey, you know what? What are you doing? You got a donkey? Why don't you both ride the donkey? Get on the donkey. I mean, why waste it? You know, why you both old? Get on the donkey together and then go on your way." So they start thinking, "Oh, maybe that's a good idea." So they got both out on the donkey, and they're riding along. And they come to another guy going the other way. He starts getting really pissed off. He says, "What are you riding there? Can't you see the donkey's tired? You're two people riding on it. How come you doing that? Why don't you get off, sir, and let your wife ride the donkey?" So, well, yeah, I guess that's right. That's the way we started. I'll get my wife back on the donkey, and I'll walk behind. So it's a little bit about listening to other people's opinions, and you end up doing what you need to do the right way anyway. So there's one more little story, and this one's about the king's birthday. I think I may have told you this one in one of my videos, but apparently there was one time there was a very generous king, and apparently he was in India again. And every year to celebrate his birthday, he just loved the people. He was very kind and very generous to his population, and they all lived pretty well lives. So he was a very well-loved king, and to celebrate his birthday every year, he'd have a big, huge festival at his house, and people could, this estate, and people could come, and you could pick anything that you saw. If you pick one thing that you saw that you liked, that you could take as a gift from the king. And the rule is only you can pick one thing, and the first thing you touch is what you have to take. So everybody has a good time, and people walk around. Maybe they pick a goat or a chicken or something, or some piece of equipment or whatever, something they like. And the king is very fine. Hey, you know, I got plenty. You know, be generous. So finally, getting there toward the end of the day, and he comes to this man. He's walking. He's just walking like this. He doesn't want to touch anything. He can't make up his mind what he's gonna take. So the king says to him, "Hey, you know what's getting near the end of the day, and a lot of the good stuff is gone. You better make up your mind, sir." And the man just says, "Oh, I threw myself down." He says, "Oh, king, I don't know what to do. See, I need a cart and I need a buffalo. If I don't have a buffalo, I can't. What's the good as a cart? So if I touch the cart, then I have the cart, and I have no buffalo. If I have touched the buffalo, then I get a buffalo, and I got to take care of it, and it won't do any work for me without a cart." So he was in a quandary, and he explained this to the king, and he really finally just threw himself at the king's feet and touched his feet and says, "Sir, I don't know what to do. You know, forgive me for being so emotional." So the king says, "You know, sir, the first thing that you touched was me, and because of your beautiful story and end the day, be my guest, take both the cart and the buffalo." So the point is to come to the source and ask, and you might get more than you ask for. I heard a little parable about the word ask. Ask and you should get it, seek and you shall find, and knock and it'll be opened. That's ask. So I hope you've enjoyed these little stories, and I hope to see you in some of my other videos. Please share and like, and subscribe if you like. And I'd love to hear other stories and feedback from people who listen, because I know we all have heard many different fun stories and little parables and dreams in our life to inspire us along this way, and some of them are funny. So thanks again.